Good morning, everyone. Hello to all my old friends. Hello to those of you I have yet to meet. For those of you who do not know me, I am Susan King. I am currently serving as the co-director of the Interfaith Roundtable of Washtenaw County. I am an ordained interfaith minister. Dave Bell was my mentor when I was in seminary, following him. And over the years, I've had the pleasure to be a part of this community on and off from its time through the school years to coming here. The very first thing that happened when this center opened in this place was you hosted the Interfaith Thanksgiving and the building wasn't even ready. So talk about commitment. And on that note, I'll shamelessly plug next Sunday is the 24th annual Interfaith Thanksgiving celebration at Bethlehem Church. So I hope to see some of you there. So the Mayans tell us that in 2012, a new age was being ushered in that is going to see the return of the sacred feminine in ways that are new and ways that will couple with the brilliance of the enlightened masculine mind knowings that were the highlight of the last axial age. And in this new age, we will be co-creating a world where the masculine and the feminine divine energies will come into a new form of balance. They call it a new golden age. Some are calling it the fifth world. And it will be standing upon wisdom, light, love, and compassion. And it will carry new faces and new voices out of the past and into the future. We did just complete 13,000 years of a cycle that had an emphasis on the masculine energetics and faces of the divine. And now, as that has deepened in our knowing, an emphasis on the heart and seeing an unfolding of intuition, introspection, and wisdom, the natural gifts of the feminine faces of the sacred across all of our traditions. We will be entering a new era where the heart and the mind will unite across all of our species, and that truth is something that has always been encoded in our very DNA. In Christianity, Mary and Mary Magdalene have returned to the tradition's focus, and they have not returned in their faces of piety and denigrated sexual energies that formerly played on the stage, but they are showing up as strong, wise women of heart and truth in our world. Judaism has seen a tremendous rise in the role of the sacred feminine as well, and how it is played out in their ancient history, and how the feminine within Judaism is calling for a reframing of the law, a law that is written in the heart, not just in the script. The great mother who births all things, she was the center of the Holy of Holies in the very first temple as set up by Solomon. The Star of David, the two stars entwined as the triangle of the masculine and the feminine. And at that time, the masculine came to rise to meet the feminine. And now it is rising again as partners. The tree of life, that is the feminine. The menorah is the symbol of that tree, rooted in the earth, rising to the light, in giving birth and shelter and nutrients to all. Kabbalah mysteries within Judaism are arising everywhere. Perfect male-female balance is being discovered anew. In Islam, Mary has always been honored, especially within the Sufi traditions, who extol the wonders of Sophia spirit, that wisdom that rides on the voice and is carried into the heart. The Sufis say that Mary, as the great mother, is the womb of creation in which emerges the divine breath of Allah. We can look around and we can say, there are some faces of the feminine that are walking around our community and in our world that we are very familiar with that are bringing this new energy in. How about Amma, the living icon of heart-centered wisdom, and how it's arising in devotional wisdom? The beauty of love carried in a hug, a very physical face of the divine in the world. Here locally in our community, the Rinpoches, Toshen Khandro, and Traktung, they are wonderful examples of male-female balance in the way they lead their Buddhist community. And interestingly, they have a very special relationship with Mary as the Queen of Heaven. They chant and they sing to her in their community on a regular basis. The Zen Buddhist Temple here in town is led by Haju Sunim. She's the head priestess there. Her name means to hold a place beyond wisdom. Right? I recently read, it was a while back, but I read a wonderful book that was entitled The Sophia Code. I don't know if anybody has read that. Which was a living transmission from the Sophia dragon tribe. Now, if you're familiar with the Ray Masters, and many of us are, the Sophia dragon tribe is the feminine faces of those same light rays that have incarnated in the archetypes of the divine goddesses and also physically in the world. They are the high council of ascended masters of wisdom, and they are the teachings of the Sophia Christ consciousness. We've come through an era where it was the Jesus Christ consciousness. Certainly a master with a tremendous heart and wisdom, but it was always shown in the face of a man. And now what we are beginning to see is that it is partnered with Sophia, and Christness is a total blend of both. From around the world, they have shown themselves to us in many ways. In Egypt, we knew members of this dragon tribe as Isis, she of 1,000 names, and Hathor, she of 1,000 voices. In India and in Asia, we have Green Tara, she of 1,000 stars. She was the verdant womb of all forms of all things, that great divine womb whose fertile eggs seeded life on planets throughout the entirety of the multiverse. When we see the stars, we see her light shining clearly from the darkness. The dark, the unknown mystery through which all light emerges. A core definition of wisdom. How about Quan Yin, known as she of 1,000 waters? Now, Quan Yin incarnated in her last incarnation as Yoshinami in a Southeast Asian jungle community, and she suffered greatly through sexual torture and brutal war with the Mongols. With help of spirit guides, she came to embody the heart of compassion and descended out over the waters of life. And water, as we know, is really a focus of our consciousness these days, as its preciousness, its fundamentalness, an element we can't live without on this planet. And it will only be with compassionate hearts that we will allow compassion to flow like water from our collective hearts, and that our minds will open to see what our heart knows. A great example is Dr. Masaru Emoto. Many of you will know him. He had a brilliant mind, and he connected with the heart of the truth about water, and he's the one who came up with the experiments that demonstrated how emotions impact and have effect on water. This is Quan Yin flowing through. In the Middle East and Europe, we've known the divine feminine as Mary, the Mother Mary, she of 1,000 roses. She personified the Immaculate Conception. Now, this is a truth of the female ability to give birth to all forms of all things, including human life, through the activation of divine light seeds already encoded in spiritual DNA. Christianity is not the only tradition that carries this truth within them. There are ancient teachings within many native and shamanic traditions that speak directly to how women's wombs birth all forms of all things, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And Mary has long been symbolized by the rose. She's the mother who teaches us how the heart unfolds, its many petals reaching out to the light of truth and bringing us to find our sacred hearts. That's what the Holy of Holies represents in the temple in Jerusalem. The birthing chambers that are within us all, here on the horizontal place of time and space, or our embodied form, meets with our sacred divine self and experiences that vertical access of ascending and descending through direct knowing. And that comes from the divine wisdom within us and all around us. Mary's son came to be the embodiment of the Sacred Heart. That was a gift of his mother, our mother, who allowed him to help usher in a new era of exploration of the divine masculine light, balanced with the wisdom of his own feminine spirit. The Sacred Heart, Mary's gift. It's the way of reconciliation, love, and unity that we are seeking to find today as our world seems to be turned upside down. We see her rose everywhere in Christianity. We see it in Judaism in the 13-petaled rose of Jewish mysticism. It's ever present in Sufi songs and chant, extolling the rose of the heart that carries her energies to us down throughout history. And the rose window of Notre Dame, one of the most famous of the cathedrals in the world. And how about Mary Magdalene, known as she of 1,000 angels? She is returning again. They have discovered her gospel. She is not the woman of sin and sexuality who turns us away from our divinity, but is a woman who was a leader. She was a teacher. She was a lover of the masculine embodiment of Christness and helped give birth to a new understanding that the role love would play in the world. Through the rediscovery of her gospel, we see that she was the human face of Sophia Christness, partner, lover, supporter of Yeshua, and what he, son of the divine mother, came to bring. The first great commission to stand up and embody and spread these teachings came from her. The commission of Peter, it was there. but it came later. Her teachings allow us to see that we are angels that take human form, and we are here to lead others to see and experience the truth in our hearts. She actually was considered quite a revolutionary in her day, a rather dangerous role for her time in history with all the political upheaval that was going on. Quite similar to much of the political upheaval that's going on in our world. And yet, she stood. She was a living example of how women are not the property of men. They are equals who can not only get it, but bring heart to the soul of our humanity. Like Mary, she was a prophetess whose story was foretold from ancient days before her. She, like Mary, like Miriam, stand in the tradition of Isis, the one of 1,000 names, the many names of the Great Mother who gives birth to us all and invites us to come and live as women and men of power, wisdom, and deep love, in balance and in partnership. Here in the Americas, there's White Buffalo Woman. She of 1,000 white clouds and thunder beings. She is who brought the pipe to the people of this continent. And the pipe, as we know, is a sacred tool that takes the shape of our human and divine form. The stem of the pipe represents the shaft, the pathway between the crown chakra and our womb space. The bowl is the womb of creation itself. In Native traditions, every man and every woman has both a shaft and a womb. In physical form, women carry the womb, and men carry it in their spirit. And vice versa, men carry the physical shaft, and women its spiritual elements. When joined, that pipe represents the way of the masculine and feminine divine in physical elements that fit together perfectly, drawing in the wind of spirit, and when smoked, the bowl or womb is the chamber where the prayers are alchemically transformed from intent into all forms of things that we create in this world. White Buffalo Woman brought this powerful tool to the people so that they would know harmony, balance, and that the as above and the so below fit together now and always. All of the versions of how she came from the different traditions say that she was a holy woman that met 2 medicine men who challenged her. And then she gifted them with direct knowing of compassion and unconditional mercy. That way they were transformed and they became teachers of her wisdom and knowledge. Once again, we see the feminine divine meet the holy masculine and together lead their people to new levels of awareness of their own divinity, sacred law, and how to connect body, mind, spirit, and souls together to bring a greater unfolding of human consciousness to the truth of our being. There's a planetary level to the Sophia dragon tribe, known as she who births sovereign creators. You know who that is? That's us. All of these manifestations are returning to us all across the planet. So many people are being called by this divine feminine. Christians are learning to see Mary and Magdalene in new eyes. The teachings of Quan Yin have again permeated Eastern traditions that have brought us people like Malala. Judaism is again discovering texts and teachings from their ancient days that have caused them to call on the Great Mother to return. As I mentioned earlier, Amma, she's going around the world hugging people and transforming the hearts of people across the world. This is just a skim of the surface. And the question is, who do you know in your life that is a living embodiment of this feminine Sophia wisdom, Sophia Christness? How are you and I being called over and over again in what appears to be a very crazy world these days to seek heart answers, deeper wisdom, the truth of soft power and its ability to call forth our sacredness? How do we look at this coming new era, this new age, and see consciously, and in many ways probably still fairly unconsciously, that divinity is a marriage of the as above and the so below? It is a marriage of spirit and soul, body, mind, which resides and lives in our heart. Who do we know that is carrying these energies of clarity, joy, compassion, love, and union that are emerging? The era of the patriarchy as we have known it is coming crashing to an end. The era of Sophia, wisdom, Christness is emerging to stand strong on the world stage. How do we imagine this concept of Christness? Because it's a concept. It's our divine nature, united as one, all in unity as a sacred body on this planet. How do we envision and know it in our minds and hearts as the power of the feminine, the dark unknown possibilities, married with the power of light and known to us in revealing the seeds of truth? Our work in this arena has begun. We are the people we've been waiting for. And hopefully, in the 20 years ahead, in the Interfaith Center for Spiritual Growth, we can come more and more to celebrate this grand union. Amen.